Hi guys, welcome back to the Kosha Yaya channel. Hey, today we are going to be discussing the vital role of a parent, specifically a mother to their children, starting from the time that they are in the womb. And of course, this leads up to their adulthood. Being a parent never stops. However, today we're going to be focusing on our youth, specifically from when they're an infant to as they are developing and preparing to go into those preteen and teenage stages. Now, many times parents don't realize the crucial impact that they have and the ability that they have to help their children gain the confidence, the ability to communicate, and the ability to make appropriate decisions, and just how much, not only how they teach them, but how they display these things themselves. This is going to be extremely detrimental to the way that your child perceives the correct way to walk around in the world today. Now, as you know, right now in America specifically and around the world, children are being presented with different decisions and obstacles that we didn't have an issue with years and years ago. So it makes it just so much more imperative that as parents, we are extremely active in our kids' lives and that we take the role that we have very seriously and that we present ourselves the way that we hope for them to be able to confidently and joyfully present themselves as well. So as a mother, of course, we have an extremely vital role. We take on the role of a caretaker from the moment that they enter our body, from the moment that we are pregnant. We now are responsible to take care of that child. Children can literally hear a mother's voice from the time that you are just 18 weeks pregnant. They can hear the voice of their mother. So it's incredible because a mother can begin gaining a relationship with their infant prior to them even being born. Many times a child can recognize the voice of their mother in the third trimester of pregnancy. So this just helps. This just is an incredible way for you to be able to bond with your child before they are even born. Now, of course, once your baby is here, this is your time. This is your time, mom, to step up and truly show the love and connection with your child. Children from a very young age, just 1 to 2 months, have the ability to recognize their primary caregiver. So they know who they're going to go to when they want or need something, or when they're sad. And even though at a very young age of 1 or 2 months, they're not going to be voicing things, hey mom, I need a snack, or I'm hungry, but they have the ability of recognizing who's going to be taking care of them, who they start to put a trust in because they recognize who's helping them to meet their needs. Now, as they get older through the following months, they can start to communicate those things more. That's why, of course, we notice when infants get a little bit clingy to their mom, or if they're going to get passed off to someone else, they may experience frustration. They start to experience their own emotions and recognize certain actions get them certain responses. So it's very vital as infants and going into those toddler years that we respond to our children, that we do show them appropriate nurturing and love and affection. And earlier than you would assume, kids start to recognize and mirror the actions of their caregivers. So as a parent, it is so very important in their early years, all the way through their adulthood, like we said, that you are being a model for them. Your children will model what you do. And so it is so imperative that we show them the appropriate way to respond with our emotions, with our environment, with other people. Many children who are developing through their younger years, their social skills, their emotional stability, their ability to problem solve. These are things that they gain not only through other individuals and through other interactions, but primarily you want them to gain these skills and the confidence of skills through you as a parent. So, something to ask yourself: how do I respond to conflict? How do I respond in social environments? How do I handle challenges as they come about? Because obviously we will all have challenges and they come about daily, big or small, for life. So our kids are going to mirror that. They are going to learn from those things. And the more that we have a positive relationship with our children, we can help them to do those things in a very healthy way. Now, there are different things that we can do in order to help our children to develop skills on their own, by interacting with them and specifically helping them, because these skills that we are building now at a very young age are going to help them as they get into their more difficult years, such as preteen and teenage years, when hormones are changing and they are presented with even more daily decision making, more social issues, more opportunities to choose right or wrong. So we want to be very active at a very young age to instill the morals and the capacity to handle stress in a positive way. So how do we do this? Well, there's some very basic things that we do from a very young age when children are learning how to interact with other people. One of the first things, of course, like we said, is to be a model. So, like, how are we communicating with others? How are we treating others? This isn't just in social atmospheres. This is at home. How do we present ourselves and communicate with our spouse, with other children or people living in the home? How do we treat people when we go to the grocery store? Are we respectful? Are we confident? And are we joyful and healthy in the way that we present ourselves and provide respect and confidence to other people? So being a model. Another really big thing is being responsive to your children. Now, it's very common, of course, and I understand this, we as parents are busy. So sometimes we cannot constantly, and this is obviously back to creating balance and realistic expectations. Does it mean, by being responsive, does that mean that you have to respond every time your child wants to talk to you and wants to be entertained? No, absolutely not. In fact, that develops unhealthy balance, and that can create a lot of destruction later on. But what that means, being responsive, is when your child has questions, or when you are having one-on-one time with your child and they are communicating with you, are you distracted and not responding? Are you showing them that when they speak to you, it matters and you're responding in a healthy way? Or are you constantly distracted to a point that they can feel unimportant or unvalued? So it is very important to have a balance of this may be time when you tell your children that you have to get tasks of your own done, so you won't be able to be as responsive, but also having those imperative times that help to build confidence in your child and recognizing that they are very important and their questions and comments and concerns are valid. Validation is extremely important in the younger years of a child so that they can have the confidence built from your responses to them, from your interactions with them, and they can carry those to more social interactions that are going to be imperative for them as they grow older and they meet new people and they are presented with social challenges. Those are things that are just so important. So not only being responsive, but asking them questions. So it's important to ask your child questions to help them to problem solve, to help them to begin to understand how to think on their own and not always having to come to you for an answer, but beginning to understand how to solve things on their own. You can use stories. This is such an incredible way for you to help your children when they are at different stages of learning, being able to tell stories or read stories that have a very good problem-solving moral to the story, things that you can utilize to help them in their decision-making, whether it's how to play nice with a friend, how to share, the importance of being honest, not making poor decisions like stealing or talking inappropriately, helping them to understand that actions have consequences. Storytelling can be a very powerful way for you to help your children to learn and to prepare them for circumstances that you will meet with them one day. So another thing that is extremely important during the younger years of your child is to encourage them to try new things. Children by nature, people by nature, have fear. And there is a difference between a healthy fear and an unhealthy fear. The first time a child climbs on their bed or climbs out of their bed, there is a level of fear because it's new, and some of them are fearless and try to take a dive much bigger than what should be done. So they can go on either end of the spectrum there, obviously. So it's important for us as parents, and again, I'm speaking to mothers, but again, this is as parents. It is important to be present, to teach your children that it's okay to have fear, but it's also important to master fear and to be confident as they take those steps, whether it's in their physical, like as they're learning to take their first steps, or as they're learning how to play with another child for the first time, or to simply go with another trusted adult, to allow themselves to open up and engage, to be confident and social with other individuals. These skills are so imperative at a young age that will carry them throughout their life. So treating them with kindness so that they know that that's how they treat other people, treating them fairly so that they understand that. Also teaching them how to stand up for themselves in a healthy way. So understanding how to speak with other kids or adults. And of course, those are two different things. Understanding how to work things out with peers. Let's say, for example, if they're playing a game, kids go through a stage of, no, it's my turn. I don't want to share. I don't want to give a turn. Teaching them how to have that give and take and how that works out in a healthy fashion, because they can gain those relationships, and obviously have a more joyful time rather than not teaching them those skills and having them be the kid who fights selfishness and not being aware of other people's feelings and emotions. So again, imperative things that kids learn from a very young age, and it doesn't stop there, because as parents, we have a responsibility to not only do that at a young age, but as their circumstances and their environment changes, as they're opened up to more opportunities like school and play dates and things like that, our job to teach them and to be present to help them be successful in those areas grows and grows. It doesn't go away. So something so important as a parent to recognize that we may have work, we may have our own responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities is to take time to be present as our children are learning these skills so that they can carry those with them, like I said. So guys, this is extremely important. Asking questions when your children are upset, helping them to work through emotional issues so that they can do it in a healthy way and that they can come up with solutions. So again, we never stop developing. In a sense, even as adults, we develop new skills, correct? So as our children are developing those skills, we also need to recognize everybody develops differently. Now, some children are going to develop skills socially very quickly, while other children may struggle. Some children automatically some children, it seems like they come out extremely confident, and some children come out more fearful. it's important for us to recognize where those skills may be strong and still, of course, help build those. But it's really extremely important for us to recognize where our children may need extra help. So, for example, if one child lacks confidence, it's more important for us to engage in those areas to help them to gain confidence. If they don't know how to be social, it's important for us to put them in social situations and to do it with them, help them gain that confidence, practice those things with them, and then have them practice with other children. One thing that sometimes parents do is if they see that a child struggles in an area, they may tend to want to protect that. And rather than putting them in those social situations, which will help them to gain those skills, they tend to coddle and hold their children close, which actually does the opposite, because rather than those children being put into situations where they can conquer those fears and gain more confidence, we're not exposing them. So important for us to recognize if our children do need extra help there. And sometimes that means that they may need like social therapy, play therapy. They may need professional assistance to help them gain the skills in that area. And that's okay. As parents, it's not our job to be the answer to everything, but it is our job to recognize where help is needed and to get that help for our children. Because, guys, again, the world has so many different things that it's presenting to our young kids that it is invaluable. It is so unimaginably important that we help them to confidently be able to handle situations as they come to them. So as parents, the more that we are present, the more we will help our children, the more that we will see them make good decisions as they grow older, be able to confidently handle conflict, be able to confidently work in social environments and not feel social pressure in an unhealthy way. There is a difference between healthy pressure and unhealthy pressure. Now, I know that every parent wants their children to be successful in making the right decisions as they grow older. And as they grow older, they're with us less and less. They have more and more independence and freedoms to make their own decisions. So as a parent, as a primary caretaker, I recognize that it is so important for me to model those things for my son. It is important for him to recognize that if something happens, that I can handle it in a positive fashion, that I can do it confidently, and that I am going to show him the way that things will happen every day in our world, like I said. So it's important for our children to have the ability to go about those daily interactions with confidence. Now, part of our job is the moral compass development, the ability for us to show them, to teach them right from wrong. Every action has a consequence. Good actions have good consequences. Bad actions have bad consequences. One of the things that as parents we tend to do sometimes is either overreact or underreact. Now, there is a difference between as a child makes a decision, maybe a poor decision, one parent may get really upset. Now that causes a lack of confidence in your child. Another parent can calmly and confidently teach their child that there is a consequence. So, for example, if a child makes a bad decision, they break something on purpose or make a decision that causes someone else to have hurt feelings. A healthy way to do this is to sit down and talk to that child and help them to understand that bad decisions do have consequences, and that, of course, that consequence will be dependent on what the action was. But it's imperative to approach that and to actually have the conversation, not to just sweep it under the rug. Because if we sweep it under the rug, we're teaching our children that there is no consequence and that they can get away with whatever they want. Now, if we were to fast forward those types of situations into their preteen and their teenage years, or even just school age, if we haven't appropriately taught our children that actions have consequences, that's when you start getting calls from the school and they're saying, hey, there's some problems going on that need to be addressed. So again, so important for us to help our children to learn in a healthy fashion that every action has a consequence. And it is up to us and the way that we handle it, whether they're going to understand, hey, it's not worth it to make those bad decisions because a bad decision has a consequence and I don't want that. But it's so awesome when I make good choices and I have good actions because the rewards are there. So again, guys, I know that I am going on a lot about these types of things because it is so apparent that in the world today, at a younger age than we could have imagined, children are going to be questioned. Children are going to be brought situations that we 20 years ago wouldn't have had to face. So for us to instill the confidence in our children to making the right decisions, knowing right from wrong, understanding consequences, and having the confidence to do that is so valuable. And throughout all of this, guys, the biggest thing that your children need, that our children need, is to understand that they are not only loved by us, that we are always going to be there to support them and help them, that they can communicate with us. The worst thing in the world as a parent is to feel as if your child lacks the confidence to come to you if they need help solving a problem, or if they are struggling mentally, emotionally, whether it's just within themselves or whether it's at school or at another social event or with another individual or just with their schoolwork. For a child to know that they can come to their parent and their parent will never be negative or ridicule them, but if it is an opportunity for them to learn, that we teach them constructively and that we show them that support, that it is an unwavering love. Because the last thing that we want to do during our child's early years is to give them an indication that they need to solve things without your help when it's needed. They should always have that confidence to come to you. We don't want to solve things for them because we need them to gain those skills and that confidence. But as a parent, so important. And I know I keep saying that in this video 100 times, and it's because it is something that I am so passionate about. And you see every day examples of opportunities where our children will go out in the world and they will either feel success and confident, or they will feel as if they failed. And sometimes it's not just one small situation, but it is a building momentum. Momentum is power. And so the more we can arm our children with that positive momentum from a very young age, and that we are active in their lives and actively communicating with them on a daily basis, we are arming them to be able to meet the world with confidence and to be able to be successful. Now, today, I really just am focusing on through those earlier childhood years, and we're going to dive in on the next video much more specifically into helping our children through their preteen and their teen years. But for today, I hope that my goal is to instill in parents who have these expecting parents, who have infants, toddlers, young children that are preparing to go into school or even are already in school, that are gaining relationships, that are gaining those skills or not gaining the skills that they need, that will prepare them for their adolescence, for their young adulthood, and just helping you to recognize just how important your role is. So guys, I know that there's so much more that we could go into, but I want you to walk away from this video recognizing that everything that your children see and hear you do has an effect on them. The way that you present yourself to them and to others, and the way that you actively help them to develop those skills is so imperative, and it will help you and help them throughout the years to come. So there are so many different books out there that can help you with your children. There are so many different things that can help you build confidence as a parent, because let's be honest, especially when you're a first-time parent, these are things that you're learning yourself on how to help your children. Just remember that the biggest thing is the way that you love them and the way that you teach them to love others and to love themselves. So guys, I'm super excited to dive in deeper into the next video, which we will go into the way that we as mothers, as parents, help our children in decision-making and in confidence throughout their preteen and their teen years, which again is more important today than it ever has been. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on the next one.